Well, actually, our association with Max Mueller Bhavan goes back
to 1977.
I joined on 1st July 1982.
I joined the institute
in 1998.
1970.
2006.
My association with MMB goes back
to the mid-70s actually.
Middle of September 1989.
1992, which is almost 27 years.
40 साल से ऊपर भी काम कर रहा हूँ.
More than 17 years. When I was a teenager, I always liked to work for the Goethe-Institut. It was my dream.
I've been working here for about 5 years. My association with MMB goes a little bit longer.
Yeah, I've started working with the Goethe-Institut Max Mueller Bhavan in Mumbai in March 2019. So it's only 4 months that I'm heading this institute. So far it's a great experience. The Goethe-Institutes in India are active for about 60 years, and the institute here in Mumbai is one of the youngest, so we celebrate our 50th anniversary this year.
From the beginning they were called Max Mueller Bhavan for the simple reason that Max Mueller was easily the best known German Indologist in India.
So I think it was a good choice to pick his name for our institutes in India.
Max Mueller Bhavan, good morning. May I help you?
When we are looking back to what we have done in the past 50 years, you will see that there is hardly a theme which we didn't touch.
Max Mueller started their office in Malabar Hill on the ground floor of Besti Sabawala's bungalow. We had one room for the administration, one room for the director, and the rest of the rooms were for the language department. Our office was there from 1970 onwards.
With a short interim phase at Nariman Point to this building since I think 1972.
The Kala Ghoda area within the 4th district of Mumbai is central in many ways.
It's so central, it's so dear to our heart also.
This is a place where everything happens. The Kala Ghoda festival, all the art galleries, everything is around us. People come here and visit us.
So we always wanted to stay to this day in Kala Ghoda.
So I think a lot of people in Mumbai know us as a language school, but as soon as they enter our building, they will pass the gallery, which is in the ground floor. Then they will go up to the first floor, they will see the library, and then the second floor they will come to the language department, where we have our classrooms and where we have our reception, where you can subscribe for the courses. So for everybody who enters our institute, it's quite obvious that we are not only involved in German language teaching, but that we are a cultural institute with a clear focus on the arts.
Max Mueller Bhavan is an institute for social and academic enlightenment. They're taking huge interest in art, culture.
Institutions like the Goethe-Institut in a city is very critical from a kind of cultural point of view. They also initiate projects which they think are important. They support projects that they think are important, which may not be directly related to the German experience at all. MMB really needs to establish an ongoing presence in North Bombay.
I'm delighted to know that the Max Mueller Bhavan Mumbai is completing 50 years in Mumbai. My congratulations to the director of Max Mueller Bhavan Mumbai and the staff of Max Mueller Bhavan. Max Mueller Bhavan in 1990s took deep interest in urban planning, urban conservation, heritage conservation.
Working with the Max Mueller Bhavan has been, for me, an incredibly productive association and engagement. This all began with almost a chance encounter when I had a German friend visiting Mumbai who happened to meet Dr. Winterberg, who was the director in the early 90s. And she said, "What can we do? Give me ideas." I said, "I know exactly what she should do." And I suggested to her that we should do a 3 or 4 day workshop on urban conservation, because that was the dire need in Mumbai. And the next thing we knew was a year later we were doing this, I think, which turned out to be an incredibly important conference workshop for the city, which was called Conserving an Image Center, where we took the whole fort area and we talked about what could be the strategies to conserve it. On the last day, a gentleman came up to me to congratulate me for having organized the conference at the Max Mueller Bhavan and said, you know, is this going to be all talk? Is something going to come out of this? I said, I think legislation should come out of it. And he said, you know, I'm the Urban Development Secretary of the government of Maharashtra. And I give you a challenge in 3 months. If you can come with a proposal, I will commit to taking it through. And that's exactly what happened. And in April '95, India's first urban conservation legislation happened. And the whole fort area got declared a conservation zone.
That actually helped Mumbai to save heritage regulations.
That chance encounter, the support from the Max Mueller Bhavan led to this amazing, I think, event, and I think it was a milestone in the city.
One of the important things about Max Mueller Bhavan and why it is different from other such institutions is that Max Mueller Bhavan was one place where you were not just given. You were not just sent, a cultural program from elsewhere and then asked to just become a passive recipient of it. Which means that we were allowed as interlocutors from the global south to critically evaluate what was being sent to us. In these divisive, xenophobic times, Max Mueller Bhavan should continue with its programming, which is extremely open, full of curiosity.
Introducing the East-West encounters, it was to be, quote, a series of East-West dialogues involving authors, composers, musicians, dancers, painters, sculptors, philosophers, and scientists who are invited to participate in an inquiry into the possibilities of creative work and thought today, inspiring themselves from Indian and Western sources. That was the idea. And so the organizational frame was 1 week each year. We were together, some 40, 50 of us Indian and international participants, and we had discussions in the mornings and performances in the evenings.
The East-West Dance Encounter was really a unique platform, but for the very first time that dancers not only from India but quite a few international artists were present to sort of not only showcase their own works but also to interact with dancers.
I'm thinking back to an artist, a major German artist, Wolfgang Leib, who was very much a part of Georg Leschner's East-West Encounter process. And being part of that process really sustained and strengthened his connection to India.
So that was very unique, and I presented for the first time a dance theatre piece where it was called Manglo Street, and it revolved around the life of a clerk called Joglekar. So, and there I spoke also in between my performances, so there was no collaboration, it was a single one-man show, but it was a unique presentation and created quite a stir. I can't really predict, but I'm sure dance, music, theatre will be still on their agenda, and visual arts too.
One of the key projects that I worked with the Max Mueller Bhavan, which is also the beginning of my association in a very formal way, was the Promised City project. So the Promised City project was between 3 cities, Bombay, Warsaw, Berlin. And every city had one key essay that was written for it, and Marla invited me to write the essay on Bombay.
So about 21 years ago, there was this association called the Kala Ghoda Association, which was formed, and I was one of the volunteers at that time.
Kala Ghoda Festival, the sort of seed was sown in the Max Mueller Bhavan library at the time.
And I walked into the meeting and there was this round table and Amita Desai was sitting there at that time. And she said, why don't you help us? So I said, of course I'll help you.
And you know, being a gallery situated in Kalagoda, having Max Mueller Bhavan next door, having Sassoon Library, there was this certain calling that something needed to be done with Kalagoda.
Which today is one of the largest public festivals in Asia, in the world.
50 years is a long, long time, and to be so consistently, good.
The Poets Translating Poets was a program that was initiated by Dr. Welder, who was the director here. It was a regional project, and I think it kind of like took into account the diversity of language that this region offers. The beauty about that project is that it can actually be adapted anywhere. You just need 2 languages to make it work.
During my days, India became nuclear, and we had founded a society called MIND, Movement in India for Nuclear Disarmament. And we claim that those who don't join us are mindless people.
Nalini Malani, who today is a global superstar in the art world, a very pivotal moment of her career was staged at the Max Mueller Bhavan.
Nalini had a wonderful presentation of Medea, a production here at this gallery. That was also a landmark event.
It was her early sort of beginnings of working with video, with installation, with mediums outside of being a painter. Dr. Winterberg, who was then the director of Max Mueller Bhavan, became the sort of conduit for Nalini's explorations into a very big project.
I think Dr. Winterberg did a beautiful catalogue. I remember she spent months and months on it, and that catalogue, I think gave Nalini a particular kind of visibility.
And there are many, many outcomes like that, of lifelong connections, of friendships, of collaborations that have evolved out of this crucible of the Max Mueller Bhavan in Bombay.
So we did this huge project called Open Codes last year.
Open Codes became a real highlight.
Which looked at the digital code as a new tool to create culture. And I think that attracted a lot of new audiences.
Open Codes became like an exhibition that, I brought my son and every friend of his to see, because it's at least one way of getting the kids into the gallery.
We did something like 22 workshops, which included digital embroidery or, learning about Python or some AR workshops and stuff, to even an algorithm, which was basically we had people come here and jam and teach kids how to create music through coding.
The one institute we can always rely on for support is the Max Mueller Bhavan, and the 2 recent events that at least I was personally involved with through the Urban Design Research Institute were the State of Architecture exhibition, which was at the NGMA, and then the State of Housing exhibition, which was in the Max Mueller Bhavan gallery. And because these were both research projects and issues where we were kind of discussing this at the national level, I think it was brave and wonderful of the Max Mueller Bhavan to say, okay, we'll partner with this, these are important.
We did a lot of workshops with the MMB. There was I think in symmetry and asymmetry from 5 countries, which came, I think it was in 1987 or something, with Anke Wiegand Kanzaki, who was with us in a workshop.
It's a smart move of the Goethe-Institut that they exchange every couple of years the directors, that nobody is staying forever, because each director can basically take a fresh look at the cultural scene.
The kinds of contributions that this succession of directors has made to the cultural life of Bombay and of India at large, these are people who have contributed as equals, as participants, never as people who thought that they were bringing culture to India.
In the first part, where the door is here in this room, we had a little gallery.
In my growing up years, I remember sitting there when I think there was a stepped seating arrangement right behind, and the wall towards the street was totally glass.
And I saw this space just as an incredible opportunity for us to fill a void.
Then it changed and became this art gallery space, where, as I said, one has done at least two strong key exhibitions, three in fact, one more exhibition that I did in that space.
So what we built up over the last 3-4 years is a wonderful interaction with new audiences, and that's not so easy because we are in South Mumbai.
This is a space that is neutral, so a lot of artists are interested in showing here because of that neutrality, because it allows them a certain freedom to express or say what they want to without any censorship.
And of course we had outstanding exhibitions like with Amar Canvas, Wind Forest, or Lightning Testimonies, Yael Patana's work, and photo exhibitions with pigs and this urban. So it has a huge variety of topics which we then follow our upstairs in our library space. And this is, I think, something I am actually very happy about to have this, because it's one of the very few institutes worldwide having its own gallery space. It's not something we usually have.
The galleries are actually responsible for bringing art or artists to the city who otherwise haven't shown here that regularly.
So we widened the audience enormously through this gallery work, and actually the raison d'etre for the Goethe-Institut, wherever we are, is our audience. It's the most important thing.
I think the most cozy and also social space in our building is the library, where we've made to create a certain atmosphere which is welcoming, where you can sit, you're surrounded by books.
The library was really a haven because I did all my reading there. All the cultural materialism philosophers, whether it's Benjamin or Adorno, Horkheimer, Marcuse, and that influenced the way I started writing.
We don't look at the library in the conventional sense now. This is a meeting space, this is an interactive space, and it is also space to learn the language, because that's very basic to our institution.
And also the library turning into this lecture hall. And it's very beautiful sometimes in the evenings to sort of have lectures, conversations with the books available for your viewing.
So there are books, then I give them tips about watching a film so that you get to hear the sound of the language. Then there are so many digital platforms developed by Goethe-Institut. They are displayed on our iPads. That is the new addition to our library.
There was home, there was college, there was public space, but there was also the library where, you know, we shared a variety of things.
Well, we teach German as a foreign language here, and we have standard courses that go from A1 to C2. And we also have exams and special courses for developing special skills.
We have super intensive courses here at Kalagoda. We also have our centers in Thane and Ilpale.
We have special projects for certain kinds of schools. For example, we have PASH projects, and then we have another project for Kendriya Vidyalaya schools.
Our USP is that we teach the language in the language itself. The medium of instruction is German. And we also catch the pulse of the group. Every group is different from the other group, so the group dynamics also makes it a lot of fun in that sense. And it's a cliche to say it's very interactive, but one has to actually attend our courses to understand what we mean by interaction.
Actually, it stems down from the teacher's training program.
Absolutely.
I mean, the program and the teaching, there's a lot of research that goes into teaching.
There is always a procedure how we go about it. All the teachers here are trained how to teach the language. So it has to be made interesting, interactive,
at the end of it, we want participants speaking the language.
Inviting actors from Germany is a different approach of teaching a language. So the students get exposed to normal, natural German language and not just what they hear from an audio or from a video.
Generally, people are very skeptical before they start because I don't know a foreign language. How will I start talking it day one itself? But they're just convinced by the end of day one that this is it.
We are leaving Goethe-Institut.
The intercultural competency program trains the participant first to know themselves, what is their own cultural programming, and then start looking at the other culture. How does the other culture think, behave? Goethe-Institut Mumbai created a qualification program and a proper certification program for people who would like to work in this field. And I must say this is the first and the only kind of program of this depth and of this quality.
Bombay is a very receptive place full of energy, of cosmopolitanism, and I think Bombay is the city of India which has this jewel of diversity. Our work in Bombay would be down almost to zero if we would not have these wonderful networks with so many people and partners in Bombay and beyond.
There's something of a chemistry between the city of Mumbai and the Max Mueller Bhavan, Mumbai, that has been incredible.
They are always very keen and sharp on understanding what are the needs of the city.
And I think we as citizens have benefited a great deal.
It's very open. When you have ideas, you can make it. And it goes at ease. That's Bombay.
Having been one of the directors, I have weak corner for the Mumbai Institute to this day.
Well, MMB has always been very encouraging, not only to me but to others.
हमको ऐसा लगता कि ये MMB में मेरा घर ही जैसा है, अच्छा लगता है, हमारे घर वाले भी समझते हैं, ऑफिस में अच्छी तरह से मानते हैं, तो फिर चलता है वो.
The institute is part of myself.
The Max Mueller Bhavan is one of those institutions that I would call a friend, a neighbor, and a collaborator because they kind of tick all those boxes.
There is a professionalism, but there is a lot of warmth. I think that's been that whether it's an old staff, whether it's new people, there is a certain culture of combining professionalism with warmth.
The steps were just as much a part of the experience as everything else. It's where we sometimes waited for each other, where we sat and read things together, or also where I wrote a poem for Nancy.
I would describe the ethos or the feelings of everybody working over here as one family.
I am extremely proud to have worked with Max Mueller Bhavan, extremely proud. Because what I learned from the Institute and what I gave back to the Institute, that cannot be done in any college or in any other institute.
There's a certain camaraderie at this place that I haven't really experienced before, and I can now understand why people want to hang and work here for a long time.
Yeah, I'm really lucky enough to say that I'll be a part of it because I got an extension after my retirement also. And I'm really proud to work here in this prestigious institution. It has given me lots of opportunities, has boosted our self-confidence.
The learning process never stops at Max Mueller Bhavan.
If I go anywhere, they ask me, where do you work? If I tell them Goethe-Institut, oh wow.
I'm with Goethe-Institut for last 23 years. But I would like to continue another 23 years if time would permit me.
And the strange feeling of being at ease here. It's nothing I feel as a burden or a strain. Everything moves at ease. That's what I, for myself, as working in this institute, felt. And I hope that what we have achieved has an impact also for the future. This work of an open house, of an open society for everybody without any entrance fees. If this is maintained, and I think it will be maintained, it's a big, big thing.
Because there's so much to learn, so much to gain, so much to be enriched by, that I wish for the Mumbai Max Mueller Bhavan and the Goethe-Institut anywhere that we keep up the dialogue.